You ever notice how airports have that weird kind of noise? Not loud, not quiet, just constant. Rolling suitcases, people arguing about seats, coffee machines hissing like they're angry at the world. Yeah, that was exactly what Seattle-Tacoma International sounded like at 8:42 a.m. on a freezing December morning. Snow was falling outside, the kind that makes the runway look like someone shook powdered sugar all over it. People were stressed, bundled up, juggling tickets and kids and holiday deadlines. Basically, chaos. But the normal kind. And then, it happened. Not the bomb, not the breach. No. The thing that ripped the air open first was a bark. A bark so sharp, so freaking loud, it sliced through a crowd of 2,000 people like a blade. Voof! It echoed, bouncing off every wall, every window, every nervous heartbeat in the place. Some people turned, some flinched. But Officer Jack Rowan, he froze. Because he knew that bark. God. He'd heard it maybe 3 times in his entire career. And every single time, it meant something was very, very wrong. Valor, he muttered. But the dog didn't wait. K9 Valor. 78 pounds of muscle, instinct, and that strange sixth sense only working dogs ever seem to have, suddenly tore away from Jack's side. No tug, no hesitation, no warning. Just launch. Straight into the sea of travelers like someone fired a starting pistol. Valor! Heel! Heel! Damn it! Too late. The dog was gone, slicing through the crowd like a missile wrapped in fur. Shoulders low, tail stiff, paws hitting the polished floor so hard people actually jumped out of his way. What the hell? Is he loose? Whose dog is that? Jack shoved past a businessman. Sorry, move. Excuse me. Valor, stop. But the leash was already slipping, burning his palm as it ripped free. And then came the scream, a man's voice, high, panicked, cracking like glass. The kid's got a device! Somebody move! Everything stopped, literally. The whole terminal blinked. 1 second of absolute horrifying stillness, then 3 seconds, then the world detonated. People ran, people shoved, coffee cups crashed, a stroller flipped sideways, someone dropped their phone and didn't even look back. TSA radios howled with static. Code level 3, code level 3. Shut the checkpoint. Lock the doors, now. Jack's heart hammered so hard, it felt like it was punching the inside of his ribs. He didn't know why Valor was running. But he knew one thing. His dog wasn't wrong. Valor never made mistakes like this. Jack pushed harder, and then he saw her, a tiny girl. 7-year-old Ava Collins, swallowed by an oversized pale pink coat, curls messy from travel, clutching a pink backpack with a unicorn zipper, just standing there, confused, trembling. No idea why the world was screaming. And Valor? Valor was sprinting straight at her. Jack's blood ran cold. Valor, stop! Stop, buddy, I mean it! But Valor didn't slow, didn't blink. If anything, he ran harder. The crowd split like an ocean. People screamed. Phones flew up. A toddler cried without knowing why. Little Ava squeezed her backpack, eyes wide, shaking, like she thought she'd done something terribly wrong. Jack whispered, voice breaking, "No, no, no. Don't look at her like that." But it was too late. The terminal had already decided. She was the danger. Valor leapt, not jumped, leapt like a wolf clearing a ravine. Valor! His paws slammed the floor inches from Ava, claws scraping, ears pinned forward. Then he barked. One single bark, low, violent, explosive. A bark that meant, if you don't move, something very bad is coming. People screamed. Someone dragged their spouse away. Someone else yelled, "Get the child down!" Ava flinched, stumbled, fell hard, whispering through trembling lips. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." And hearing that tiny voice apologizing like she'd caused the end of the world, Jack felt something tear inside him. He grabbed Valor's harness. "Buddy, what are you doing? What do you smell? Talk to me." But Valor didn't look at him, didn't blink. His whole body pointed at Ava's backpack. Hackles raised, chest rumbling, shaking with instinct no human could match. Jack swallowed hard. "Oh God, don't tell me." And then the alarms began, piercing, shrill, flooding the terminal. "Security alert! All passengers remain behind marked lines." The nightmare had officially begun. Valor stood there, muscles locked, staring at the little pink backpack like it was counting down. And Ava? God. The moment her back hit the floor, something inside her just broke. She pulled her knees up fast, like she wanted to fold herself into something smaller, something harmless, something people wouldn't scream at. Her hands flew to her ears, palms pressed so tight her fingers shook against her skull. I don't want to explode," she whispered, voice cracking like wet paper. "I don't want them to yell. Please don't yell at me." And if you're wondering, nobody understood her. Not one person. Because the second she said the word explode, oh man, the crowd lost whatever tiny bit of chill they had left. A woman yanked her husband behind a support pillar. A teenager darted so fast his backpack smacked a stranger in the face. One guy dove behind a row of seats like he was in some action movie. People weren't seeing a scared 7-year-old. They were seeing danger. Headlines. The worst-case scenario their brains could cook up. Someone whispered, "She said explode." Another hissed, "God, get away from her." Then a third voice muttered, "Why would a kid say that? Why would she say that unless... unless. The word hung in the air like poison. Ava squeezed her eyes shut, curling tighter, breaths coming out in short, panicked gasps, like she couldn't pull enough air in to stay alive. Jack saw it. He felt it. "Hey, Hey, hey, sweetheart, he said, pushing through the bodies around her. It's okay. Nobody's yelling. Nobody's mad. Except, yeah, everyone was yelling, and half the damn terminal was mad. Not at her, not directly, but fear doesn't aim well. Fear makes people stupid and cruel and loud all at once. And Ava? She thought every sound was aimed at her. I didn't mean explode like that, she sobbed, rocking now. I just meant I didn't want trouble. I didn't want trouble. Her little voice cracked into this tiny, helpless squeak, the kind that hits your chest whether you want it to or not. Valor growled, low, deep, a rumble that vibrated right through Jack's boots. Jack dropped to his knees beside him, one hand gripping the harness, the other reaching toward Ava. But she flinched, not at Valor, at Jack, at the uniform, at the badge, the authority she thought was there to punish her. No, 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 sweetheart, I'm not gonna hurt you, Jack said quickly. Nobody here thinks you did something wrong. But the crowd didn't look like that. They stared at her like people stare at a burning building. Not with sympathy, but with distance, with suspicion, with that instinct to protect themselves first and ask questions, maybe never. Jesus, look at the dog, a man whispered. He knows something's in that bag. Kids don't carry stuff like that unless someone gave it to them. Yeah? Or unless they knew. Jack snapped his head toward them. Stop. Just stop talking. But fear spreads faster than logic. Way faster. And Ava heard all of it. Every single word. Her shoulders shook harder. Fingers dug into her scalp. Breaths turning frantic. Those hiccupy gasps kids get when they're, 2 seconds from passing out. Valor stepped forward. Not lunging, just closing the space. Positioning himself between her and the world like a shield. Jack whispered, Buddy, easy. Let me handle it. But Valor didn't move. Not an inch. Tail stiff. Ears locked. Eyes locked on the backpack like it held something alive. Something breathing. Something wrong. Then Ava spoke again. That tiny, cracking, terrified voice. I don't want to explode. I promise I'm not bad. I promise I'm not. I just didn't want to be yelled at. She didn't mean bomb. She meant punishment. She meant trouble. She meant, please don't be mad at me. And the adults? They didn't get it. They heard a threat. Jack's stomach twisted. Ava, he said gently. Hey, look at me, okay? Just look at me for a sec. She didn't. She couldn't. Her face stayed buried in her knees, rocking, trying to comfort herself the only way she knew how. Valor let out a single whine, soft, shaky, almost broken. Jack had heard that sound only once before. From a dog crawling into the ruins of a collapsed apartment building when he found a child buried under concrete. The sound dogs make when they sense pain. Not physical pain. Emotional pain. The kind too big for a kid to carry. Jack wiped his palms on his pants, heart pounding. "Everyone back up," he said, louder this time. "She's not a threat. She's scared." A woman scoffed. A man shook his head. Someone muttered, "Dogs don't react like that unless there's a reason." And the worst part? They were right. Valor wasn't reacting to her. He was reacting to something near her. But all Ava heard was, "She's dangerous. She's a threat. She's bad." A tear slipped off her cheek and hit the floor. She whispered, barely audible, "Please don't take me away." And right there, that sentence? It hit Jack so hard he actually forgot to breathe. Because that wasn't a kid afraid of getting yelled at. That was a kid afraid of losing everything. And no one in that airport had the faintest idea how true that fear was. Jack still had one hand on the dog's harness when he felt it. That violent tremor running through Valor's entire body. Not the shaking from fear. Not the buzzing energy dogs get when they're excited. This was different. A full-body quake. Like something deep inside him was breaking. "Buddy." "Hey," Jack whispered. "Talk to me. What's going on with you?" Valor didn't blink, didn't move his head, didn't look away from Ava's backpack. Instead, he made this sound. God. Jack didn't even have a word for it. It wasn't a bark, wasn't a growl, wasn't a whine. It was a cry. Low, raw, wounded. Like something ripped out of the dog's chest, not his throat. The kind of sound that chills your spine. Because animals don't fake that. They don't pretend. That sound always means one thing. Something is horribly, horribly wrong. Jack's breath stuttered. "Valor. Hey. Look at me," he said again. Softer this time. Like speaking to a scared child. But Valor didn't move. His ears were pinned flat. Every muscle in his back pulled tight, like someone had drawn a bowstring through him. His tail wasn't wagging. It wasn't even lowered. It was frozen, straight, stiff, like a plank of wood. You don't need to be a dog expert to know. That is the body language of an animal sensing something humans can't. A TSA supervisor jogged over, panting. "Officer Rowan, is your K9 malfunctioning?" Jack snapped his head toward him like he'd been struck. "He doesn't malfunction," Jack said, low and sharp. "If he reacts like this, it's for a damn reason." The supervisor held up both hands. Okay, calm down. But the fear in his eyes said he didn't believe it. Most people never understand what a dog like Valor actually is. He's not a pet. He's a $75,000 detection machine, with a nose better than lab equipment. And right now, that machine was unraveling. Valor's chest expanded with a shaky inhale. Then he released another sound. Softer this time. Almost apologetic. Like he was saying, "I wish I could explain this to you. I wish I had words." Then his head jerked forward. One sharp, instinctive motion. Jack felt the leash jump in his grip. Whoa, Valor, buddy, easy. But Valor stepped forward, slow, deliberate, a step toward Ava, toward her bag, and the tremor running through his body intensified. "Hey, stop, stop, give the officer space," someone yelled. A man yanked his girlfriend behind him like they were standing in front of a grenade. A woman shielded her toddler like Ava was radioactive. And Ava heard every word. Of course she did. Her shoulders curled tighter. Her breath slipped into those tiny, high-pitched hiccups kids make when they're drowning in their own fear. I'm sorry," she whispered. "But I don't know what I did. I don't know." Jack's jaw clenched. Hard. He knelt lower beside Valor. "Okay, buddy. Look at me. 1 second. Just 1 second." Valor's eyes flicked sideways for the briefest moment, and the look he gave Jack. It wasn't fear, wasn't anger. It was desperation. Like, "Jack, if you don't trust me right now, people will die." Jack's throat tightened. 4 years together. 4 deployments. 2 fentanyl busts where Valor saved officers' lives. 1 structure fire he refused to leave because he knew someone was still inside. And never, not once, had Jack seen him like this. The dog wasn't reacting to the girl. Jack understood that now. Valor wasn't even looking at Ava. He was locked, frozen, on the backpack. That stupid little pink backpack with a unicorn zipper. "What the hell is in that bag?" Jack murmured. Valor's ears twitched, like he recognized the question, like he had an answer, but no way to speak it. The trembling grew worse. His pause shifted. Then, with zero warning, Valor lowered his head and sniffed. 1 sharp inhale, and whatever scent hit him, it jolted his body like electricity shot straight through him. His feet skidded. His back legs stiffened. His hackles shot up so violently they looked electrically charged. And then, Valor did something no one in that terminal had ever heard a police dog do. He howled. A broken 1-second howl. Not a moonwolf howl, but the kind dogs make when they smell blood, or death, or something rotten in the world they can't fix. The entire terminal froze. TSA lowered their weapons. Civilians stopped screaming. Even Jack felt his stomach drop, like he'd stepped off a cliff. Ava lifted her head, eyes swollen, freckles wet. Is he mad at me?" she asked, in a voice no child should ever have. Jack swallowed hard. "No, sweetheart," he whispered. "He's not mad at you." But the truth? Valor wasn't mad. He was terrified. And whatever he was sensing, it wasn't just dangerous. It was catastrophic. And now, here's the thing I want you to think about, and be honest. If you were standing there, watching a dog shake like he'd stared death in the face, watching a little girl fold into herself like the whole world hated her, what would you have done? Back away with everyone else? Step in to help even if you didn't understand the danger? Trust the dog, no matter what. Or something entirely different? Tell me your choice. I'm curious, because while everyone was still staring at the dog like he'd just predicted the apocalypse, something shifted in the crowd. A flicker of movement. Quick, deliberate. Jack turned when he heard the voice. Oh my God! Ava! Sweetheart! It cut through the chaos like sugar-coated glass. Too sweet. Too smooth. Too wrong. A woman, mid-30s maybe, pushed through the wall of bodies. Long caramel brown hair in a neat ponytail. A soft winter coat. A face you'd call friendly if you ignored her eyes. Because those eyes? Cold. Flat. Focused like she was looking through Ava, not at her. Jack didn't know her name yet. Later he would. Marissa Hale. But right now she was just another adult shoving past TSA agents like she owned the terminal. "Ma'am, stop!" one agent barked. She didn't hear him, or pretended not to. She dropped to her knees beside Ava, arms wide, like a mother running to her child. "Oh, baby, come here, Mommy's here," she murmured. And Ava went still. Not relieved, not comforted, just frozen. Jack's brows knit. Something felt off. Way off. Before he could react, Marissa reached out. Fast. Too fast. She grabbed Ava's wrist and yanked her close. Not tender. Not maternal, hard. A tiny pop of skin on skin echoed. Ava hissed, her arm jerking. Color drained from her knuckles as Marissa squeezed tighter. Valor saw it. And Valor exploded. A sound ripped out of him so deep it felt like the terminal itself shook. Not a bark, not even close. A roar. A sound that said, "Touch her again, and I swear to God." Jack's grip strained on the leash. "Valor, hold!" But Valor lunged anyway, body rigid, hackles blasting straight up. Passengers screamed. "He's attacking! Get that dog restrained!" They didn't understand. He wasn't attacking. He was protecting. Jack threw his arm across Valor's chest, bracing with all his weight. "Ma'am," he barked, "step away from the child, now." Marissa finally looked up, and the smile she gave him. God. It was like ice melting just enough to drip. "Oh," she breathed softly. "Officer, thank goodness you're here. My daughter, Ava, she's terrified. Please let me take her." Her trembling voice sounded rehearsed, like she'd practiced being fragile. Jack stared. That sugary tone didn't match the hand still crushing Ava's wrist. Ava's lips quivered as she tried to pull away. And then, like a secret only the desperate whisper, she said, "You're not my mom." Jack felt that line like a punch. Marissa didn't react. No shock, no confusion, no outrage. Just silence. Then she leaned closer, fingers tightening, nails digging into Ava's arm. "Sweetheart, she cooed. You're confused. Mommy just needs you to stay calm. Valor snapped, not biting, just a sound. A warning so powerful 3 grown men stumbled backward. Ava, Jack said gently, stepping forward. Look at me. Do you know this woman? Ava shook her head instantly, violently, curls bouncing from the force. No, she choked. No, 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 no. I want my real mom. Where's my real mom? And the entire terminal went silent, like the world held its breath. Marissa's expression slipped, just for a fraction. A tiny crack in the mask. Coldness leaked through. Something sharp, something predatory. But she recovered. Too fast. Sweetheart, she tried, voice thin, airy. You're confused. No, Jack cut in. She's not. Marissa turned to him slowly, like a predator deciding whether to pounce. Officer, she laughed softly, I don't know what you think is happening, but if you'll just let the dog set. Valor didn't let her finish. He shoved forward, low and massive, planting himself fully between her and the girl. Tail down, but not tucked. Weight centered, breathing shallow. This wasn't aggression. This was possession. The stance of a guardian drawing a line in the sand. Jack tightened the harness. Ma'am, he said, voice flat and cold. For your safety and mine, do not touch her again. Marissa's jaw twitched. Her eyes flicked. Not to Ava, not to Valor, but to the pink backpack on the floor. Just one glance. Barely a second. But Jack saw it, and Valor saw it too. He snarled. A sound no human ear was ever meant to hear. Passengers didn't know what was happening. TSA didn't know. Hell, Jack didn't even fully know yet. But Ava? Ava knew one thing. She curled into her hands and whispered, voice trembling, Please don't let her take me again. And that line froze the entire terminal harder than any alarm, because once Valor blocked Marissa and the fake sweet act shattered, Jack knew he had to make a call, fast. He pointed at the backpack on the floor, that soft pink thing with a unicorn zipper and glitter on the straps. The kind of bag a 7-year-old should keep crayons in. Maybe a snack. Maybe a stuffed animal. Not whatever Valor was reacting to. Jack crouched toward it slowly, one hand raised like he was approaching a wild animal. Valor, he murmured, stay with me. Just stay right here. But Valor didn't sit, didn't lie down, didn't relax. He hovered, shoulders stiff, tail low and straight, letting out one of those deep, trembling rumbles that felt like they came from inside the earth. Jack swallowed hard. Okay, buddy. I got you. TSA agents formed a loose circle, not too close. None of them wanted to be within 10 feet of that bag. A couple kept glancing at the exits like they were calculating whether they could outrun an explosion. Ava sat curled on the floor, red-faced, trembling, clutching her knees. She wasn't crying loud. Kids who are truly terrified don't cry loud. It was that quiet kind of crying, the one that hurts more. Jack looked at her. Ava, he said softly. Sweetheart, I'm going to take a look inside your bag, okay? Just to make sure you're safe. She shook her head fast, curls bouncing. No, I don't want you to open it. She said, I wasn't supposed. Jack's stomach dropped. Who said? He asked gently. Ava's bottom lip trembled. The lady on the plane. Not Marissa. Not this imposter. Someone else. Someone worse. But Jack couldn't go down that road yet. First things first. He took out the inspection knife from his gear. Small, precise, made for cutting seams without damaging what's inside. And the moment the blade glinted, under the lights, Ava squeezed her eyes shut, like she expected punishment. It's okay, Jack said quickly. You're not in trouble. I swear you're not. She didn't move, didn't answer, just shivered. Jack turned back to the backpack. All right, he whispered. Let's see what the hell we're dealing with. He slid the blade under the bottom seam and pushed. Sure. The fabric tore cleanly. Valor's entire body jolted. Jack froze. Hey, buddy, easy. I'm not hurting her. I'm just checking. Valor stepped forward, nose tight to the opening, shaking harder now. His breath came out in hot bursts. His pupils were blown wide, almost swallowing the brown in his eyes. Jack exhaled slowly, kept cutting. Another slice, another piece of padding peeled back. He expected toys, snacks, markers, something kid-like, maybe even a weird metal trinket. But when the final layer dropped open, Jack's breath just stopped. What the? Inside the backpack wasn't candy, wasn't clothing, wasn't anything a child should ever hold. There were panels, thin metallic plates arranged like puzzle pieces, rows of circuit strips wired together in a grid, far too clean, far too intentional. Tiny microchips embedded like teeth in a digital jaw. All of it hidden beneath a perfectly stitched false lining. One TSA tech leaned forward. Wait, is that who I think it is? Another officer swallowed hard. Oh God, is that a skyblind array? Jack didn't look away from the shimmering pieces, because he knew the name. Everyone in Homeland Security knew the name. Skyblind, a system built to override and scramble navigational signals for aircraft. But this one was small, portable, modular, built to fit. Exactly inside a child's backpack. Jack whispered, No. This can't be real. But Valor's body said otherwise. The dog went deathly still, staring at the device like it could breathe fire. Ava watched through blurry eyes. I'm sorry, she hiccuped. Sorry. She told me it was magic candy. She said if I opened it early it would break. Jack whipped his head around so fast his neck cracked. What? Who told you that? Ava rubbed her sleeve across her eyes, leaving streaks of tears. The lady with the pretty hair. She said it was a secret surprise. She told me I was being good. Jack's heart dropped straight into his stomach. Someone used this little girl as a delivery system. Someone hid the most dangerous navigational sabotage device on the West Coast, inside the backpack of a 7-year-old who thought she was carrying candy. "Oh my God," one TSA agent whispered. "They could have taken down 7 routes. 7 major routes. Half the West Coast could have gone blind on radar," another muttered. Jack ran a shaky hand across his face. "This wasn't meant to explode," he said. "It was meant to cripple, to confuse, to make planes lose their eyes." Ava's breath hitched. "I didn't know," she sobbed. "I didn't know. I didn't know I was holding something bad." Jack felt something inside him crack, clean down the middle. He moved closer and knelt beside her, not as an officer, as a human being. "Hey," he said softly, voice thick. "Look at me." Ava didn't want to, but she did. "You didn't do anything wrong," Jack said firmly. "Not one thing. Someone lied to you. Someone used you, but you didn't choose this." She hugged her knees tighter. "Am I gonna get in trouble?" "No," Jack said instantly. "No, sweetheart. Not ever. Not for this." Valor stepped closer and rested his chin gently on Ava's leg. A simple gesture, but enough to make her finally break, sobbing into his fur, arms thrown around his neck. Even Valor softened, letting her hold on. A TSA supervisor swallowed hard. "Jack, what do we do?" Jack stood slowly. "We lock this entire terminal down," he said. "We treat this as a coordinated attack." He looked at Ava, this tiny kid who never stood a chance. "And we find whoever did this to her," he added, voice low and sharp, "before they walk out of this airport." Because while Jack was still processing the fact that a child had unknowingly carried a national threat on her back, a TSA tech across the room suddenly let out this shaky little gasp. It wasn't loud, but it was the kind of sound that makes every hair on your arms stand up. Officer Rowan," the tech said, You're gonna want to come look at this." Jack's heartbeat skipped. Valor's head snapped up instantly, ears swiveling toward the voice. Jack gave Ava one last reassuring nod, then jogged over to the security monitor. "What now?" he asked, panting, not from running, but from adrenaline chewing through his nerves. The tech didn't answer. She just pointed at the screen. Jack leaned in. At first, all he saw was a normal hallway camera. Gate D7 near a maintenance corridor. People walking, rolling bags. Nothing special. And then she walked into frame. Slow, calm, almost too calm. A woman in a reflective airport vest, pushing a cart loaded with clipboards and ID lanyards like she was on her break. But the camera zoomed in, and that's when the pieces clicked. Long black hair, straight, glossy, moving with that effortless swish. A laminated ID clipped near her shoulder. And something else. The tiniest detail, but impossible to miss. She stepped into a knot of passengers, and the ones closest to her turned subtly, just for a second, like they'd caught the scent of something floral drifting by. Jasmine. Warm, sweet. Jasmine. A scent that didn't belong in an airport hallway. Jack felt a chill crawl up his spine. "No way," he whispered. The tech swallowed. "Yep, that's her." Valor let out a bark. Not loud, not sharp. A hurt sound. Low, strained. Like a wolf crying out after losing pack. Jack turned to him. "Valor, what is it?" "Time 6 hums." But he didn't need the dog to answer, because Jack already knew who the woman was. He had read the case files, seen the grainy surveillance shots, the fuzzy stills pulled from traffic cams. He knew the rumors, the theories, the ghost stories whispered in Homeland Security training sessions. The woman no one could catch. The woman who slipped through borders like fog. The woman who could vanish between frames of video. The Iris. Named not because of her eyes, but because she was everywhere at once. Like the iris of a camera lens. Jack stared at the monitor like it was showing a nightmare he'd somehow dreamed before. "She's here," he said, breathless. "Jesus, she never left the airport." The room held its breath. No one moved. No one spoke. The Iris stopped walking. Just for a second. She glanced over her shoulder. Not at the camera. At someone passing behind her. Her face stayed calm. Too calm. Like she was waiting. Planning. Calculating. Like she had all the time in the world. "Run it back," Jack ordered. The footage rewound 10 seconds. They watched again. And this time, Jack noticed something he missed. She wasn't pushing the cart. Her hands were resting on the handle. But the cart itself was empty. A prop. Just a prop. Jack muttered. Valor moved closer, placing his paws on the desk, staring at the woman on screen with wide, unblinking eyes. His tail was tucked, not in fear, but in warning. He made a guttural sound, half growl, half whimper. Jack shivered. He'd heard dogs do that when they sensed fire before humans saw smoke, or when they felt a building collapse seconds before it happened. The tech whispered, "Why isn't she running? If she planted the device, why is she still here?" Jack's jaw tightened. "She's checking the delivery. This wasn't a drop-and-run job. She needed confirmation the kid made it inside." "And now?" the tech asked. The camera switched angles. The Iris adjusted her fake ID badge, ponytail sliding over her shoulder, and continued toward the restricted stairs. Jack exhaled through clenched teeth. And now, she's heading for her exit route. Valor barked sharply, once like a gunshot made of sound. Jack nodded at him. "Yeah, buddy, I know. We can't let her get there." TSA radios erupted. "Gate D7, possible suspect, high alert. Lock down the maintenance corridor. Seal the north elevators, now. Visual confirmation of the Iris, repeat, visual confirmation." But Jack couldn't take his eyes off the screen, because the camera cut to another angle, and the iris looked up. Not at anyone, not at anything, just up, as if she felt the camera watching, as if she sensed them watching her. And then she smiled, small, curled, cold. Not a smile for others, a smile for herself, a smile that said, "You're too late." Jack's heart slammed in his chest. "She knows," he whispered. "She knows we saw her." Valor howled, louder, sharper, echoing through the security room. Jack grabbed his radio with shaking fingers. "All units," he shouted. "The iris is in the building. I repeat, she is still in the damn building." But deep beneath the adrenaline, beneath the fury, Jack felt it. That tiny drop of fear sliding down his spine. Because if the iris wasn't running, she was planning. And a woman like that planning anything was far worse than a bomb. Seeing the iris on that security monitor made the whole room freeze. And what happened next? Yeah, this was the moment everything exploded back into motion. The second her smile flickered across the feed, the building came alive. Radios screaming, boots pounding the tile, passengers shrinking against walls like the air had turned sharp. But Jack didn't wait for backup. Not when Valor jerked toward the door like a missile waiting for launch. "Go," Jack said, barely finishing the word before Valor tore through the security room exit. They sprinted down the side hallway, overhead lights flickering like old nerves. A TSA officer shouted, "She was heading toward Cargo E!" But Jack barely heard it. Valor was already pulling the leash so hard the nylon burned his palm. "Easy, buddy. Slow down. Just a second." Valor was not slowing down. He barreled through a set of double doors marked "Employees Only," barking once, loud, sharp, directional, the kind of bark dogs give when they're locked onto something living. The hallway opened into a loading zone. Cold concrete, steel beams, crates stacked like sleeping giants. Then, a flicker of movement to the left. A shadow slicing past a pillar. Valor exploded forward with a snarl. "She's here!" Jack yelled. "Move!" He slammed his shoulder through another door, and the world dropped into chaos. Cargo E. If you've never been in an airport cargo tunnel, it's like stepping into the underside of a battleship. Everything echoes, everything hums, everything feels bigger, louder, colder than it should. And the iris? She was right in the middle of it, running full speed toward a stack of cargo containers. "Hey, stop!" Jack shouted, even though he knew damn well she wouldn't. She didn't even look back. What she did instead was terrifyingly calculated. She reached into her vest, pulled out a small black cylinder, flicked her thumb, and tossed it behind her like she was throwing confetti. "Oh hell, move!" Jack shouted. "Boom, PF!" A cloud of thick gray smoke erupted, rolling across the tunnel floor like a living thing. Not fire, not heat, just blinding, choking fog that swallowed everything in seconds. Valor vanished into it without hesitation. "Valor, wait, damn it!" Jack plunged after him, eyes burning, lungs scraping like sandpaper. Through the haze he heard the clatter of metal, fast, echoing footsteps, Valor's deep, furious growl. Closer, closer, closer. Jack stumbled past a conveyor belt, nearly colliding with a rolling cage of luggage. Then, a thunderous shriek of metal. Skrang! The Iris had slammed her shoulder into a half-ton cargo crate, pushing it off its loading track. The crate toppled. Not slowly, not dramatically. It fell, straight toward Valor. "No! Valor, move!" Jack screamed. But Valor didn't hesitate. He jumped. And I swear, the moment looked ripped straight out of an action movie. The crate slammed down, a wall of steel. Valor sailed over it, his belly brushing the edge so close it scraped fur off his vest. 1 single centimeter. That's all that saved him. The shockwave rattled the entire tunnel. Bolts vibrated in their housings. Dust rained from the ceiling. And over it all, the echo of the Iris's boots slamming against the metal grating. She wasn't running blindly. She was weaving, left, right, up a service ramp, through hanging plastic sheets that separated temperature zones. She knew this place. She knew the blind spots. She knew exactly where cameras couldn't reach. Valor didn't care. Time 400 miles. He ripped through the plastic strips, claws clicking on metal, breathing loud, quick, desperate. Jack tried to keep up. Boots pounding, hand sliding across railings, heart hammering like a drum. But the Iris? She moved like a phantom, like she floated more than ran. She leaped onto a lower cargo belt, a moving one, letting the conveyor carry her 10, 20, 30 feet before hopping off and sprinting deeper into the labyrinth. Valor followed, sheer instinct carrying him. He landed on the belt, paws slipping. Jack's heart jumped, but Valor caught traction and charged forward. Jack leaped next, nearly slipping off the edge, ankle twisting, pain shooting up his leg. Ah! He caught himself, pushed harder. He couldn't lose her. Not now. Not when a child was used. Not when 7 flight paths were nearly compromised. Jack's grip tightened. "Oh, I think I've got a pretty damn good idea," Valor growled, low, steady, victorious. Metal clanked, smoke drifted. The entire cargo bay felt like it was holding itself together with fear and duct tape. But they had her. For the first time, they had her. Now let me ask you, and be honest for a second. If you were running beside Jack in that cargo tunnel, would you have kept chasing through the smoke? Would you have trusted Valor's speed over your own? Would you have jumped onto that moving belt? Or something totally different? Tell me what you'd do if you thought tackling the Iris in Cargo E was the end of it. Yeah. No. That was just the opening act. The real gut punch landed about 5 minutes later, when Valor did something so insane, so impossible, that even Jack, who'd seen this dog drag men twice his size to the ground, couldn't wrap his head around it. Because the second the Iris was cuffed and hauled toward a holding area, Valor didn't relax, didn't pant, didn't shake it off like dogs do after something traumatic. He stood frozen, completely still, ears stiff, nose twitching like he was picking up a second earthquake coming through the floor. Jack wiped sweat and dust from his forehead, leaning against a cargo beam. "Buddy, hey, you did it. It's okay. You can breathe now." But Valor didn't even flick an ear. He inhaled sharply. One of those deep, snapping breaths that lock a dog's whole body in place. Then he turned. Not toward the iris, not toward any human. Toward the baggage maze. Rows and rows of suitcases sliding on belts. Thousands of bags. Colors, shapes, sizes. Rolling past like an endless river. A nightmare for humans to sort through. But for Valor, it was a map. A scent constellation. A battlefield. Without waiting for a command, without even glancing at Jack, Valor launched. "Valor, hey, wait!" Jack shouted, stumbling after him. But the dog was already gone, sprinting over the grated floor, claws clicking like rapid fire. A TSA officer yelled, "Where's he going now?" Jack didn't slow. "Wherever the hell the danger is." Valor hopped onto a moving conveyor belt like he'd trained for Olympic gymnastics. His paws slipped for a split second, a tiny skid. Then he steadied, scanning the line of bags like a sniper. He pressed his nose to a maroon suitcase. Nothing. Sniffed a duffel. Nothing. Jumped to the next belt. And then it happened. A bark. One single blast. Sharp. Punchy. Precise. Jack's heart stuttered. "That's the detection bark," he breathed. He found something. Two TSA agents yanked the tagged bag off the belt and set it on the inspection table. Valor didn't stay. He didn't even pause. He jumped to the next conveyor, like something was calling him deeper in. Jack sprinted after him, nearly slipping on oil. "Buddy, slow down! Talk to me!" Valor dove between two giant rollers, landed on Belt 2, the faster line for international outbound. He shoved his nose against a forest green suitcase, paused, then barked again. Second detection. A TSA tech whispered, "No way." He found another module? Jack didn't answer. Because Valor was already running. He leaped over a divider panel, scrambled up a narrow walkway, and hopped onto Belt 3. This one fed luggage to Gate C-19, a flight boarding in 8 minutes. Valor jammed his muzzle into a Navy roller bag, hesitated, growled, and barked twice. Not random, not confused, a confirmation pattern. Jack felt every nerve tighten. Jesus, that's 3. They wrestled the bag off the belt, and Valor kept going. He vaulted onto the high platform, skidding across metal grating, nose down, sniffing hard, pulling air like he was trying to inhale the truth out of the building. Jack followed, lungs burning. "Buddy, please stop. I can't keep damn up." Valor didn't hear him. He cut left, shot down a ramp, and onto Belt 4, the biggest line. The one feeding luggage to transcontinental flights. The ones carrying hundreds of people each. Valor shoved his face into a black hardshell suitcase, froze, and then he growled. Deep, mean. The kind of growl a dog uses when he finds the thing he's been warning about since the beginning. Then, bark. Fourth detection. A TSA agent swore under his breath. Another whispered, "This can't be real." Jack grabbed the suitcase, hands shaking. "Get that one flagged, now!" But Valor wasn't done. His tail lifted, pointer dog stiff. He rested a shaky hand on the dog's back. "He didn't just save a child," Jack said, voice breaking. "He saved half of the damn West Coast." A TSA supervisor let out a half laugh, half sob. "Hundreds of lives, per flight." Another agent whispered, "He prevented a catastrophe." Passengers above their heads had no idea the sky over Seattle had almost gone dark. Planes almost lost navigation. 7 flight corridors almost went blind. And a 7-year-old girl had been the delivery system. A child who thought she was carrying candy. Valor stepped forward and nudged Jack's leg like, "We're not done. Don't lose focus now." Jack swallowed hard, scratched behind the dog's ear. "You're a damn hero," he whispered. "You know that." Valor blinked, slow, steady, like he understood every word. And for the first time since this nightmare began, Jack let himself breathe. Just a little. Because, while TSA locked down Cargo E and agents hauled the Iris away like she was radioactive, an officer's radio crackled behind Jack. Officer Rowan? You need to get to the secure holding zone. Now. Like, right now." Jack frowned. "What's wrong? Did something happen with Ava?" The voice hesitated. Never a good sign. "Her mother just arrived." Jack blinked. "Her real mother?" "Affirmative. And she's not doing well." "Not doing well." "Yeah. No kidding." Jack turned to Valor. The dog nudged his knee like, "Let's go, now." So they ran. Up 2 metal stairwells, across a maintenance hallway, through a blast door TSA had left open, and the second they reached the secure zone, it was already chaos. 3 agents were trying to calm a woman. Hair wild, coat half-zipped, the kind of breathless panic you only see in someone who's been living a nightmare minute by minute. Elena Collins, Ava's mother, and she looked like she'd sprinted straight out of hell. "Where is she?" she screamed, voice cracking. Where's my baby? Let me through!" An officer tried gently. "Ma'am, please. Don't tell me, please," Elena sobbed. "Where's my daughter?" Jack stepped forward, hands raised. "Elena, I'm Officer Rowan. Your daughter is safe. She's right behind this He didn't finish. Because Ava heard her voice before Jack could turn the handle. The tiny girl, still trembling, still clutching Valor's fur, jerked upright like someone shocked her back to life. "Mom?" A whisper. Barely sound. But Elena heard it. Of course she did. Her whole body snapped toward Tomo, the door like she'd been hit with electricity. "Ava! Oh my God! Ava!" Jack pushed the door open, and the world stopped. Ava saw her mother, not on a screen, not in a memory, but right there, alive, shaking, sobbing. Ava didn't run. She bolted. "Mommy, don't let them take me again! Mommy, please, please, don't let them take me!" Elena dropped to her knees so fast she scraped them on concrete. "Baby, baby, baby, oh God, come here, come here!" Ava crashed into her arms, both of them collapsing onto the cold floor. Ava wrapped her arms around her mother's neck, desperate, terrified, clinging like the world might end if she let go. Elena made a sound. God. A sound no language has words for. She kissed Ava's hair, her cheeks, every inch she could reach. My baby, you're here. You're really here." Ava sobbed so hard her whole body shook. They took me, Mommy. She said you told her. It was okay. But it wasn't you. I knew it wasn't you. Don't let them take me again." Elena rocked her gently. "No one's taking you, sweetheart. No one. Not ever again. Mommy's here. Mommy's right here." Her voice trembled, barely whole. "I'm so sorry. I was looking everywhere. I thought, God. I thought you were gone." Ava clung harder, tiny, broken, brave. Valor stood a few feet away, ears low, tail still, watching with warm, soft eyes. Even he knew this wasn't a regular reunion. This was survival. Raw, messy, painful. A TSA agent wiped his eyes. Another sniffed. Even Jack had to look at the floor for a second. Because this wasn't a daughter crying for her mother. It was a child begging to feel safe again. Elena cupped Ava's cheeks. "Look at me, baby. Look at me." Ava did. Eyes red, chest hiccuping. "No one," Elena said, voice firm through the tremor, "is ever taking you from me again." Ava nodded, then buried her face in her mother's chest. Jack exhaled, almost shaky. He crouched beside them. "Elena," he said softly, "she's safe. And she's not in trouble. None of this, none, was her fault." Elena looked up, tears streaking her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for bringing my little girl back to me." Jack pointed at Valor. "Don't thank me," he said. "Thank him." Valor stepped forward, licking Ava's wrist gently. A soft, quiet, "It's okay now." Ava managed a tiny smile through her tears. "Hi, Valor," she whispered. Elena breathed out, shaky. "That's the dog who saved you?" Ava nodded. "He didn't let her take me. He found me." Elena closed her eyes, pressing her forehead to Ava's hair. "Then, he's part of our family now." Valor blinked slowly, like he understood. And for the first time since the nightmare started, Ava wasn't shaking. She was held, protected, home. And if that reunion in the secure wing felt like a punch straight to the heart, then what happened at the Washington State Courthouse? Yeah, this was the moment the entire state realized they weren't just dealing with a crime. They were witnessing history. The courtroom was packed, and not busy day packed. No, standing room only, news vans outside. National reporters squeezed shoulder to shoulder like sardines. Agents from DHS, FAA investigators, TSA leadership, even pilots still shaken from what almost happened. They all showed up. But nobody expected what happened when Valor walked in. Jack stepped through the double doors first. Dress blues, back straight, exhaustion hiding beneath every step. Valor walked beside him, vest polished, badge shining, steps steady despite everything he'd survived. And then, something surreal happened. Judge Harris Monroe, 60 years old, stiff posture, old school reputation, a man who famously never stood for anyone except the flag, stood up, straightened his robes, placed a hand over his chest, and the entire courtroom followed his lead like they'd rehearsed it. A wall of bodies rising, not out of obligation, not out of fear, but out of reverence for a dog. Jack blinked, whispering, buddy, I think they like you." Valor paused in the aisle. No puffed chest, no wagging tail, just this calm, grounded awareness, like he understood the weight in the room. Elena and Ava sat in the front row holding hands. Ava clutched a small pink ribbon, the one piece she saved from her destroyed backpack. The bailiff's voice cracked as he announced, "All rise for the Honorable Judge Monroe." But they were already standing. Time thousands. The judge cleared his throat. Once, twice, bracing himself. "Officer Rowan, K9 Valor, please come forward." Jack guided Valor to the center of the courtroom, right under the skylight, where late morning sun cast a bright square of gold across the wooden floor. Judge Monroe leaned forward. "Before we begin sentencing," he said, voice low, steady, "I need this room to acknowledge something." The silence tightened. "On December 19th, Monroe continued, a coordinated attempt to disable major flight corridors across the western United States was intercepted. Had it succeeded, we would be discussing mass casualties." A few people flinched. Elena's grip on Ava tightened. Monroe looked over his glasses. Not one adult in that airport detected the threat. Not one machine detected the threat. But one animal did. Valor stayed still, solid, grounded. "K9 Valor's alert," Monroe said, voice firming, rising. "Was no mistake. It is the reason hundreds of lives," he gestured at the gallery, "are still breathing today." Sniffles echoed quietly. A sleeve wiped at a face. "I am not merely recognizing a dog," Monroe said. "I am recognizing an officer, a savior, a guardian who performed with instincts and bravery beyond human capacity. Then, something no one expected. He stepped down from the bench, walked to the center of the room, and knelt. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. A judge kneeling to a K-9? Unheard of. Monroe placed a hand gently against Valor's head. "Valor," he murmured, "you did what no software, no protocol, no security system could. You didn't just serve your handler. You served every mother, every father, every child who boarded a plane that day." Valor leaned forward, resting his head against the judge's palm. The room broke. Quietly, gently, a wave of emotion that washed over everyone. Ava slid from her seat, pink ribbon in her small hand. Can I give him something?" she whispered. Monroe nodded softly. "Come here, sweetheart." Ava approached Valor, reverent, slow, careful, as though she were approaching something sacred. She knelt beside him, hands trembling. I saved it," she whispered, "'cause it didn't feel right throwing everything away. And I want to give something good from it to the one who saved me." Jack inhaled sharply. Elena covered her mouth. Ava looped the pink ribbon around Valor's collar, tying it beside his badge. Under the sunlight, that tiny soft knot glowed like a promise. Innocence meeting bravery. Trauma meeting protection. The room didn't applaud. It didn't cheer. It didn't need to. Silence, deep, reverent, said everything. Judge Monroe rose, voice thick. "In all my years on the bench," he said, "I have never witnessed a moment as profound as this." He turned to the press, the jury, the entire gallery. "Let the record show, K-9 Valor is hereby commended for extraordinary heroism, life-saving instinct, and service far beyond the call of duty." Jack felt tears sting his eyes. Valor sat steady, eyes warm, presence solid, like he knew, like he understood that ribbon wasn't decoration. It was gratitude, love, truth. Ava hugged him, tiny arms around his thick neck, whispering into his fur, "Don't ever forget me, okay?" Valor pressed his head against her shoulder. A promise, clear as words. And even if the world forgot every headline, every detail, that pink ribbon on a battle-worn K-9's collar was something no one in that courtroom would ever forget. The standing ovation, the pink ribbon, the judge kneeling like Valor was a decorated general. You'd think emotions couldn't get any heavier. Yeah. No. Because the moment they stepped outside those courthouse doors, the story stopped being about the state, the case, or the danger. It became something softer, smaller, human. It became about a little girl and the dog who rebuilt her world. The courthouse lawn was quiet, surprisingly quiet, considering the news vans and reporters buzzing behind barricades. But the secure perimeter carved out a tiny sanctuary, just enough space for Jack, Elena, Ava, and valor. Ava walked slowly through the grass, fingertips brushing the pink ribbon around Valor's collar like she was adjusting a crown. Her breaths came shaky, the kind kids take when their emotions are too big for their little bodies. Valor matched her pace perfectly, not pulling, not rushing, just being there. Then Ava stopped, frozen, like something shifted inside her. Jack noticed instantly. "Hey, kiddo. You okay?" Ava didn't answer. She stepped in front of Valor, slow, careful, like approaching something sacred. Valor sat automatically, tall, still, studying her with those steady eyes. Her voice came tiny, fragile, but brave. I'm not scared of you anymore." Elena pressed a hand to her heart. Jack exhaled softly. Ava swallowed, then placed both hands on Valor's face, small palms against warm fur. "You protected me," she whispered. "You didn't let her take me. You came for me." Her voice cracked, not breaking down, just breaking open. "And I know you won't hurt me, ever. I know you protect me." Valor didn't move at first. Then, slowly, deliberately, he lowered his head until his nose touched her forehead. Not a sniff, not a nuzzle, a press. A canine oath. Jack's breath hitched. This wasn't obedience, wasn't training. This was the gesture Valor reserved for the hardest nights on deployment, the moments when words didn't exist. And now he gave it to a 7-year-old girl with a pink ribbon tied to his collar. Ava closed her eyes, absorbing the warmth like sunlight soaking into cold bones. Elena cried quietly into her palms. Jack blinked hard. He'd seen Valor do brave things, smart things, impossible things. But this was healing. Ava wrapped her arms around Valor's neck, not desperate this time, but trusting. Valor leaned in, gentle, intentional, protective. Jack stepped forward slowly, his voice rough. "You didn't just save her. You saved the best part of me too." Valor turned at the sound of Jack's voice, eyes softening, posture proud without moving a muscle. Elena whispered, "I don't think she's ever trusted anything this fast again." Jack nodded. "Dogs do that. The good ones. They don't just find danger. They find the cracks." "And fix them?" Elena asked softly. Jack smiled. Small, tired, real. "Sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes they fix things better than humans ever could." For a long moment, the world fell away. Reporters, traffic, security radios, all of it. Gone. Just a girl, a mother, a handler regaining himself, and a dog tying broken pieces back together. Ava loosened her hug, looked up. Can you stay with me?" Elena hesitated. torn between gratitude and the truth that K9s don't just get assigned like pets. Time 300 mums. Jack knelt, meeting Ava's eyes. Valor's still a working dog. He has a job, but... She waited, breath held. He'll always come when you need him. Always. Ava nodded, accepting truth, not comfort. She pressed her forehead to his again, this time because she wanted to. Valor closed his eyes, peaceful, safe, home. I trust you, Ava whispered. Valor flicked his tail once, and somehow, that tiny wag felt like the last piece clicking into place, like fear finally loosened its grip, like trust finally won. And honestly, it was beautiful, quietly, painfully beautiful. After watching Ava press her forehead to Valor's, whispering that she trusted him, you'd think the emotional meter was already maxed out. Yeah. No. Because the next morning, Seattle pulled off a miracle. It was barely 6:10 a.m., sky half asleep, air sharp as cold metal. Seattle winters are usually gray, like the whole sky is made of wet cement. But that morning, there was gold. Sunlight spilling over the horizon like someone lifted the wrong curtain. Jack Rowan stepped onto the service road beside runway 14 right. Hands tucked in his pockets, breath turning white. Valor walked beside him. Vest off, just a dog now, or something more than a dog, but less formal than a K9 officer. Man, Jack murmured, rubbing his face. I forgot what sunrise actually looks like. Valor glanced up, blinking slow, that quiet approval he saved for rare mornings like this. Frost crunched under his paws, soft, rhythmic, like sighs in the snow. You good, bud? Jack asked. Valor answered with a low rumble. Not a bark, not a growl, just a presence. They walked in silence, comfortable silence, planes warming engines, lights blinking against tarmac like tiny stars. Then, from behind them, a small voice hit the cold air. Jack! Valor! Wait! Two figures ran across the service gate. Elena in her winter coat, and little Ava, curls bouncing, pink gloves, boots sliding on frost. Jack blinked. You two should be inside. It's freezing. Elena laughed breathlessly. Try telling her that. Ava skidded to a stop in front of Valor, then launched forward, wrapping her arms around him like the cold didn't exist. Valor, she gasped. I thought you'd leave without saying goodbye. Valor leaned into her hug. Warm, steady, gentle. Jack smiled softly. I wasn't going anywhere yet, kiddo. Ava's cheeks were red from the cold, her nose pink, her eyes glowing with too many emotions for a 7-year-old. She dug into her jacket pocket, pulling out a scrap of pink fabric, the same shade as her ribbon. This is, She hesitated, rubbing her glove across it. It's so he doesn't forget me. She tied the small ribbon beside the first one, the wind catching both pieces, fluttering them like tiny flags in the sunrise. Valor didn't move, didn't blink, just watched her with that deep, soul-soft stillness he only used for people he'd chosen. Ava whispered, "Don't forget me, Valor, okay?" Valor answered with the gentlest bark, soft, warm, a promise. Ava's smile bloomed small and fragile, the first true smile after days of fear. Elena stepped forward, hugging her coat tighter. "She woke up at 5, she said softly, already dressed, insisting we come." Jack chuckled gently. "Sounds about right." Then the moment shifted. Not awkward, just full. Elena knelt, looking at Valor. "Can I?" Valor stepped forward on his own, pressing his head against her hip. Elena swallowed. "Thank you," she whispered, "for bringing my daughter back, for giving her back to me." Jack rubbed his neck. "Hey, he's the one who saw everything first. I just tried to keep up." Valor flicked his ear, modest but proud. Ava hugged him again, tight, warm, brave. "I'll see you again, right?" she asked. Jack crouched beside her. "You will. Valor doesn't forget his people." Ava stepped back with her mom. The golden sunrise stretched their shadows long across the frost. She kept turning around every few steps, just checking, just making sure he was still there. He was. Even after they disappeared through the gate, Valor stared after them, tail swaying slow in the cold air like a heartbeat. Jack placed a hand on his back. "You ready?" Valor looked up, then toward the runway where the sun finally broke over the mountains. They walked forward, man and dog, changed, lighter, stepping into a day they didn't think they'd live to see. The wind tugged at the ribbons on Valor's collar, tiny flashes of color dancing in the light. A reminder, a connection, a promise without words. Jack exhaled, finally letting go of the tension he'd held for weeks. "Yeah, I guess we're all starting over." Valor bumped his leg once, gentle, steady, and together, they kept walking toward the light. If you were standing on that runway watching the sun hit those pink ribbons, what would hit you first? Hope? Relief opening in your chest? A warm ache behind your eyes? Or that indescribable flutter that makes your heart skip a beat?